Let's see, is this live now? Okay, it claims to be live. So good morning, everybody. Sorry, a little discombobulated this morning. It's 8 o'clock. And welcome to the channel. So we're just getting things started here this morning. Once again, it says stream is live. So Ray, can you hear me? I like Ray's first comment of the morning. Yoda would say, I sense much frustration in you. And that would be correct. So first off, before we start talking about DJI batteries again, so I had a bunch of ideas for this week's live stream. I actually have too many ideas. So I was planning on, breaking out a couple of live streams. But I was going to have a little fun today and talk about why people over 60 don't use the internet. I don't believe that at all, and it's not true. But according to one of my customers, one of my web clients, that is a fact. People over 60 know nothing about the internet. So we'll bring that up as a topic down the road. Also, we were going to do I had another idea from some web work for talking to folks here today about planning websites on 8.5 by 11-inch pieces of paper and believing that your website's going to look like that across all devices. So that was another interesting one. The big one that I was planning on doing today, and we'll do a little bit of it, is visual line of sight testing. So, all right, sounds good, Corey. Thank you. Yes, all good. And David Naport, Drone and Graphics. Hello from Kentucky. All right. Hey, I've got friends down in Kentucky. I've been there before when I was with AT&T. So, good morning, everybody. And I know a lot of people pick up this live stream later. So, if you're not on the live stream, that's okay. I hope you enjoy the videos as well. So my big plan for this weekend, getting ready for today's live stream, was to talk about a different kind of drone distance testing. We all see it. We're subscribed to so many other drone channels, and I love following along with other drone pilots. And one of the big ones that everybody always does is the how far can it fly? 8,000 feet, 12,000 feet. We don't do that here. So I don't do those types of distance tests. They're not interesting to me or useful in my business. I'm not going to be flying my drone from 2 miles away while flying a construction site 2 miles away. It's not going to happen. I need to be close to those locations to look for obstructions and to do my due diligence on behalf of my clients. So I never have a need for that kind of distance, but I did want to talk about distance because of the big news in the drone communities, and I'm sure you've all heard about it, with the gentleman in Philadelphia who's been hit with some pretty substantial fines, over $180,000 in fines from the FAA. I'd never heard of the guy before. I went out and I checked his channel. I saw some of the stuff. There was a couple of things that made me personally cringe. And so I'm not critiquing other drone pilots. I'm not the drone police. We hear that all the time too. But it made me think about what we do in our drone businesses and these types of distance tests or this type of distance flying outside of visual line of sight. And that made me start thinking about, for me and for Jody, who's my visual observer, what is our visual line of sight? Where are we comfortable still seeing the drone? So I was out to do some testing this weekend. Let's see, Corey, give me a rock steady signal and video for a mile is all I need. All right, Corey. See, for me, I wouldn't even fly it that far. I'm always around structures or objects and things that I need to see visually too. So today was supposed to be all about visual line of sight, and I actually did some screen recording, so you'll see that in just a little bit. But for us, for when we're doing the jobs, 1,500 feet to 2,000 feet. I do wear glasses. They're not a heavy prescription at all. I can't operate without them. But, for distance driving with the car, I need the glasses. For everywhere else, the glasses are usually off. And so testing with Jody this weekend, we were bringing it out to about 1,000 feet, and absolutely we could still see it. We knew where the drone was. And we also had our point of reference from the iPhone screen, so that's all great. I brought the drone back after our first test flight, and I noticed that my battery was sitting up and out of the cradle a little bit. It was still locked in. And so that's where today's DJI batteries frustrations come from. Because so we got the drone landed. I got the battery out. I brought the battery inside onto a flat surface. Good morning, Michael. How are you doing today? Thanks for being here. Thanks to everybody for stopping in. I got to say, I've been pretty intrigued. The live streams seem to be of interest to more and more folks every week, so that's fantastic. So anyways, we got the battery back in. I had my other batteries lined up to do some more flying. I set the battery on the table inside room temperature, and that sucker wobbled back and forth like Weebles. Remember that from the 70s? Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. Yep, I'm dating myself now, but I actually had one of those play sets as a kid. So, but we set that battery down on the table, and it just rocked back and forth. Within an hour afterward, it had flattened back out again. And but we did 2 more flights with 2 different batteries for setting up the visual line of sight video series. And the second battery that was purchased at the exact same time, ordered online from the exact same company, brought that one inside after the flight. And once again, that one wobbled pretty good. It wasn't as swollen on the bottom. So I'm just grabbing, and by the way, I do have these lipo-safe bags and containers, and every one of my batteries goes into one of these things. And so when we're looking at the backside, so here's the Mavic 2 Pro battery. When we're looking at the backside is where I see the swelling right with all this labeling here. So right now, this one is not bad. It's got just a slight wobble to it. So then the big question becomes, you know, if these start expanding while I'm flying them, I set them down afterward in, you know, a temperature controlled room. Are they okay? Or are they going to start swelling more? My experience last year was that they start swelling more. And my experience from my testing this weekend with this particular battery and one other, by the way, I do label all of my batteries. I use one of those little Dymo printers. So on my drone, I actually have my registration number for the drone. And then every one of my batteries gets a label, and I do track these. I've got an Excel sheet with this. And I also use Airdata. So that's why we've had Airdata up on screen. No, I don't work for them, and they're not advertising with me. I'd love to have them on board. But I use Airdata regularly. So once again, this is labeled. So I'll even bring that label close up, and just so you can get a look. And so every one of my batteries gets their labels, they get their purchase time, and we track that. When we're done with the batteries, if we've recharged them or whatever, each of them goes into a lipo-safe container. So this little guy right here, I'd like something more substantial, to be honest. And then these go into my drone case or my miscellaneous gear case, since we've got a couple extra. And we need those extras when we do some of our construction sites. My biggest construction site requires 5 drone batteries per visit. So 5 batteries to get everything done that we're doing for that client. So batteries are important to me. But when they start swelling like this is what freaks me out. Last year I had several really expand on me. Let's see what Ray's got to say. What was the ambient temperature we were flying in? It was like in the low 60s. So right now we're in northern Arizona. We're a mile above sea level. So we're in the mountains. And this morning, as you can see, so this is, by the way, Airdata UAV. So I've been using them since I got my Part 107. I actually signed up with them a couple years ago, and I absolutely love their service. So the temperatures you're seeing right now, this is what today is looking like. So I think we're supposed to be into the low 60s today, tops. And my last battery swelling issues that occurred were a year ago in November of 2019. Several batteries that all came with the same combo kit that I had purchased from DJI. So very disturbing. We already retired a couple of batteries. Those batteries last year, each of them had under 50 charges. Under 50 charges, okay? That's what really ticks me off. So actually, let's go on Airdata UAV. We're going to go back to their main site. Whoops, allow access. And actually, I've done the wrong thing. So let's go to our main account and go over to my logs. And I did some battery draining yesterday as well, even though it wasn't time to yet for the other batteries that I have. But what really hacked me off here, so this one is where we were just finishing out the flights, so I was having it hover. And let's go down to power here. So according to DJI's Go 4 app, when I look at my battery information and looking at what's being reported back from Airdata, it seems like there's nothing going on. But when you get a battery, so we got all these batteries back in, flattened out, and then I went to charge them just to see. So we put them in an area where if they did explode, it wouldn't burn the house down or anything. So we've got an area like that. And also, the temperatures and storage temperatures here in northern Arizona, I know it does get hot. Let's see, ambient, a lot of construction progression work, and there'll always be a few seconds where the drone will be obscured. Yes, absolutely. Ray, we'll have those moments around corners. That's why I've got Jody with me. And also, I do move around during some of the flights, to make sure that I've got my line of sight. I remember, boy, it's been months, but one of the sites that we were doing was near a discount auto tires. And in the middle of my flight time, they were putting up the giant mega balloons. Now, we weren't coming too close to those giant mega balloons, but I did a double take as I was working with the drone, look down, look up, look down, look up. Hey, giant balloon over there. So, we stay cognizant of where it is at. But yeah, there will be some obscuring here and there. Keep my batteries separate bags. If one goes, it doesn't affect the others. Yeah, every one of these has their own little LiPo case thing, and then they also end up in a hard Pelican case. And even my extra junk case is for additional batteries and a few other items. That also has the LiPo safe coverings on those as well, because I don't want everything going up in flames either. How do you drain your batteries down? Good question, Michael. So there's several advisories out there. There's a lot of people who have posted things. When you want to do a deeper discharge, there's two ways that you can do it. So number one, you're flying it, you bring it back, maybe you hover it in front of you, and you're getting yourself down into the 10% range. And then you go ahead and land when the battery is in the 10% area. You don't want to go way down from that. A lot of people have said, hey, if you zero it out, it's going to cause problems with the battery. Second thing is maybe you bring it back at 20%, 15, 20, 25%. You land it, take the battery out, let the battery cool down if you're still doing other flight stuff. Then when you get back to the office, you can pop the battery back into the drone when it's cooled and let it, power the drone up and let it get down to that 10% range as well. You don't have to do that every time. You can do that on a regular basis. One of the things that I do like about Airdata UAV is that they actually have a maintenance area for me. And so in that maintenance area, I do go through their checklists. So I use them for pre-flight just to double check when things were last used. But I also use their maintenance suggestions, which are fantastic. So if you haven't tried Airdata, when I signed up with them, they did have a free trial period. I don't know if they've got that free trial period now, but you could go take a look. And a lot of the features are fantastic, which allows us to see what I'm going to show you on here. Let me see, I've got, so how do we drain those down? Recovery. At those temps, you shouldn't have an issue. Yeah, no, I'm flying in 90 degrees plus can cause strain on the batteries. Absolutely, yeah. And for Arizona, during the summertime, I pay very close attention to the ambient temperatures. And I don't want to see, the worst we've seen here in the Prescott area since I've lived here is about 104. And that never sticks long. But on days like that, I am not out flying when it's 104. The poor guys down in Phoenix, they're usually 10, 15, 20 degrees higher than us at times. So I couldn't imagine doing a lot of flights in Phoenix during the summertime. But no, we're very big on the temperature regulation and everything. During the summertime, the house air conditioning set to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And during the winter, the heat's usually set to 66 or 67. So, and all of my batteries are stored inside. They're not left out in the vehicle. They're not left out in a storage shed. They're all in a temperature-controlled environment. In my old life, I was in telecommunications. We had giant battery plants. I was an operations manager and director. Part of my responsibilities was those battery plants. I do understand battery technologies. Plus, we also have a solar Airstream. So, this is why this is bothering me so much. And the thing that really is just ticking me off, let's take a look here on Airdata. Let's go over to battery info. I would like you to read pay very close attention because I do rotate through a lot of batteries. This battery has only been charged 27 times, and as of yesterday, 28 times. 28 times. Okay, this was manufactured. This is part of why I like Airdata, by the way, because they give you additional information. The manufacture date, October 18th of 2019, so a little over a year ago, with 27 cycles on this one. The other battery that was displaying not as severe swelling was also manufactured in October of 2019, and it had like 29 charges on it. And then we've got one more, which is my backup battery. So we do rotate through the batteries, but so on this particular collection of batteries, because we still do have others too, these two particular ones were both bought at exactly the same time, both ordered online, both shipped into here in November of 2019. So manufacture, October of 2018, sale, November of 2019. So I did submit to DJI because they do not have a 1-year warranty on their batteries. I did submit a support request to them. Since this is the second go round and literally a year later, what is crazy, one of the things I have to note is the original Mavic 2 Pro battery that came with my Mavic 2 Pro, which I purchased right after the launch of the Mavic 2 Pros. That battery is still fine, hasn't swelled at all, has had very regular usage. And so the original battery from the factory with the drone, still no problems. This seems to be an issue with batches to me. Let me take a look down here. When I look over to the right, I'm just checking out folks' comments, at those temperatures. One way to drain the battery is to reset the discharge settings, minimum, yes, in the DJI app. That is it's another way to go at it in there. I think, so they have the minimum is 1 day and then up to 10 days on that discharge. Yeah, I think it's up to 10 days is the longest one, and the shortest one is that you get that, I think you set it to that 1 day. But so the thing that's really bugging me here with this, I also, at the same time that last year, when I was experiencing battery problems with the last group, I took a ride by Best Buy. We've got a Best Buy in Prescott, and I just got one extra battery, just one additional battery while I was waiting for the others to come in, because I did have a job going on at the time, and I was down by 3 batteries with the battery issue. So to work around that, I grabbed an extra battery at Best Buy while I was waiting. That Best Buy battery was also flown recently. No swelling, no issues. And on the last construction site, you can see November 15th, 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 15th. These were all one of my client ones. And in that grouping as well, we did have that Best Buy battery that's still perfectly fine, not swelling, and also purchased November of 2019. So here we go. I did the direct DJI to get a couple of them. Clearly, they're probably in the same batch, and they're having problems. We got a different one from Best Buy that was, manufactured at a different time, and no swelling issues with that. So this is becoming really frustrating to me. We're going to be checking these batteries out a little more, but I am going to be ordering some more in because I have flight jobs to do. And I can't be messing around with a battery that is swelling in flight. Let me look back over here. I've been lucky with my Mavic 2 Pro battery. I lost 3 Mavic Pro ones this summer, but they were older and made in 2017. Yep, I hear you on that one. And so here's another thing. I do own a Mavic Pro, a standard Mavic Pro, which I was also recently using for some other testing. That Mavic Pro, I haven't had a single battery go bad on it. And that Mavic Pro was purchased in 2017. So there you go. So same thing as what you were saying, recovery drone. Now, here's my big concern as a Part 107 operator and as someone who is doing regular construction site jobs. Northern Arizona has not seen real rain since back in June. So we've had a little bit here and there. We did not have a real monsoon season. It is very dry. It is a tinderbox up here. So when I start seeing batteries that have had 24, 27, 30 charge cycles starting to do this massive swelling, rocking back and forth in a way that you're not fitting it back into the drone, I do not want to fly those at all. Several of the raw land sites that I do and the ranch site that I'm still continuing on with, they have a lot of dry scrub brush out there, stuff that, will light up really quick. Now imagine one of these LiPo batteries exploding amid some dead pine trees, because we got a lot of dead standing pines here because of a particular beetle that's killing off these trees. So we have a lot of dry, we have a lot of tinderbox opportunities. So the moment I personally start seeing swelling like this, these are getting moved off to the no flight. What I did yesterday, I did do a test with one of the swelling batteries. I hovered it right in front of me, and we actually flew it dead in front of us over a rocky patio area. So if anything were to occur, we would know about it. And I'm just going to go back to this one. So here's our battery temperature over time. Once again, the top temperature out there yesterday was probably 60 tops. I actually had my jacket on because I was standing in the shade. So it is very cool in the shade here during the winter. So we had that hovering right in front of us, a couple feet off the ground. And so this is the battery that has the worst swell of the couple of batteries that I was seeing this on. And we even have the serial number. I matched the serial number up with the drone to be sure. And so, HD battery life 97%. Our time's charged. On the next one, it goes to 28. So our max temperature yesterday, while standing outside in a shaded area, call it 60 degrees tops, the battery did get itself up to 125 degrees. So what's our upper limit? Well, it wasn't too hot according to Airdata. So along with the battery info, we can also get some additional information. So the DJI Go 4 app gives me some information about the battery and the battery health. When you're actually in the app on your iPhone, you can go down, you can take a look at your batteries, and you can see what it's telling you about all the cells. When you come back from the field into the studio, you can also take a look at all of your battery info. So Airdata is fantastic, and it breaks it out into some very good information for me. So it was very happy with the amperage for the whole time, and no major deviations here. So let's just go back, cells and graphs. Let's take a look. So cell deviation, and so this is one of the batteries that's doing the big swelling right now. All indicators, everything that's captured in software is saying to me, hey, it's all right. And I was regularly taking a look at yesterday's flight while we were hovering. Excuse me, we've got beeping going off from somewhere. So almost sounded like a fire alarm thing from the neighbor's house, but it just stopped. All right, so no major deviation. Cell 4, something was going on here, but occasionally you'll see that, and there's nothing going on with the batteries. And back to the battery efficiency. So like I said, we didn't fly anywhere at all, so we were hovering and just keeping it in front of us because we didn't want it going into the grassy field to the north of us, which is also a tinderbox. Let me take a look back over. So I've got the P4Bs. As soon as I see swelling, I retire the battery. I average about 2 years per battery. Yeah, John, so I'm totally with you. And the moment that I see that swelling, that is a battery that is not going out into a forested area. By the way, a couple of years ago, there was an incident to the north of us. West of the Flagstaff area, there was a drone pilot, a Part 107 pilot, doing all the right things, following all the right rules. And they did have a battery issue. The battery issue dropped their drone out of the sky. It did start a fire, but the drone pilot was right on top of it, immediately called in the start of the fire, so it didn't turn into a wildfire or anything. The drone was also in the pilot's proximity, so when the crash went down, they already knew the crash was due to the battery. So they had the battery loss, and the battery started to fire. So there's another reason why I do operate visual line of sight as well. I want to know where that drone is, and if it gets too far away from me in some of the environments that we're flying, it could be disastrous. We do not want any more forest fires here. So yeah, Airdata has given me a lot of information to go on. So when I wrote up my report and request to DJI the other day, I had to use their support email because, of course, my drone is out of warranty. I did have the care refresh on it, But since the drone's out of warranty, you can't put in the drone, and it wasn't about the drone anyways, I wanted to report problems about batteries. So I actually sent them screen captures of what was going on. So I used Airdata, and so I'm just going onto my main screens here just so you can get a look. So I actually sent them the serial number information, manufactured. So the difference in these, manufactured October 15th of 2019 and October 18th of 2019. And like I said, the other battery that I purchased in that same time frame over at Best Buy, most likely a different batch, that battery is still fine. So this is just getting old to me because we're getting to the point where from the purchase of the drone for the first year, we had 3 battery failures within a year. And now I'm looking at least 2 and quite possibly 3 battery failures going on right now. So incredibly frustrating, especially for the expense. I mean, when we're spending, $150 a throw and we want to have 5 or 6 batteries in our case with us for doing larger jobs, or maybe even more batteries if you're out all day, that gets pricey to replace, especially when you see how many charges I've gotten. So, all right, I'm feeling better. Wow, that was a one breath rant. No, it wasn't a one breath rant, and I do not purchase aftermarket batteries. I always purchase manufacturer batteries. That's just been a thing that I've been doing for quite a while. So let's talk a little bit about our visual line of sight. So if any of you are also experiencing issues, I've had a lot of people comment on one of my older videos, and I'll try to get that older video in the links down below. Let's just get past that really quick. But I actually have another video on channel about my battery failures last year. And, so I've seen a lot of input from other people experiencing the same thing. So I've also seen on the threads, before I go way off, I've also seen on threads, oftentimes the DJI forums and things, where people are saying it's probably operator error. Okay. Like I said, the battery plants in the Lucent switching centers that we had 144 lead acid round cell batteries. These were massive drum batteries. We had our AC to DC conversion. We had our backup generators. I feel comfortable when I'm talking about batteries, battery issues, battery maintenance. I'm not a novice to things electrical engineering side. And so when I go onto all these forums and I see the suggestions, well, it must be operator error, you're storing it at the wrong room temperatures, you're leaving it out in your truck when it's 104 degrees, none of that happens here. When we get back from a shoot location, all of the cases are moved inside, the iPads are brought in, the iPhones, the Android tablets, everything is cleared out of the vehicles, especially during the warmer seasons. But I don't even want to leave them out in the vehicles during the cooler seasons. I don't want to bring them down to freezing if I don't have to. So everything gets brought back into a temperature-controlled environment. We are using the DJI chargers only. I'm not using their 4-block charger. I'm doing them individually. Even though I got that little 4-block charger, I charge each one of them. I pay attention to them. I'm looking over this way because I've got a stand over here, and that's where I set them on a tabletop with the charger to charge. So we're not doing anything weird to these batteries. Nothing zany is going on. And once again, as I said, the original battery that came with the Mavic 2 Pro is still fine. So that says to me it's more about batches and when things are produced. Okay, let's see. And one Mavic Pro battery suddenly dropped voltage mid-flight. Fortunately, it wasn't too high. Damaged the gimbal and needed rebuilding. Yep. Third-party batteries, which have been rock solid. Really? Okay. See, I've stayed away from the third-party batteries. I had a lesson taught to me back in the 2000s with a Sony camera and a third-party battery. So ended with the loss of the Sony camera. But yeah, so I've been paying a little more. But this is just ridiculous. And the biggest part is I know what's going on for other people because that year-old video that I did, over a year, I still get a lot of comments on today. As a matter of fact, someone actually dropped a comment that I responded to yesterday. Maybe they saw the title for this one, but they were asking me what my results were from last year, so I let them know. So, people are paying attention to that one, and it's on other channels. But to all the different forums, I do understand that sometimes it can be operator errors. Maybe it's a crash. We have not had any crashes with this drone. We have not had any crashes with these batteries. So I don't know what's going on, but I think the batteries should at least have a 1-year warranty on them. And I think it's a 6-month warranty right now, which is absolutely ridiculous. And, so there's my frustrations. And of course, yes, I'm going to be buying some new batteries because I have upcoming jobs. And in the meantime, those other batteries are moved out of my rotation, and we're going to take a closer look at them. I'm going to do another hover test. And while it was hovering, I was actually looking around the frame of the drone to see if I could see it separating up when it started pushing the battery up. So, I mean, we were very meticulous yesterday. And I will follow up with everybody here on what we find out, or if I've had a response from DJI. Because so far with their automated email system, I have not gotten anything for a response. So that adds to my frustration too. All right. The whole reason I was doing this stuff was just to do the visual line of sight video for everyone. So we'll talk more about this later as well. But I just wanted to show you. So as you can see, by the way, in talking about the battery issues, do you see how tan this is here? So we've got a nice little city park over here that they just put in the past year. It's got pickleball courts. It's got a playscape for kids. It's fantastic. Prescott and Prescott Valley area have a lot of city parks. I'd read somewhere that per capita, we have the most city parks for a city in our size. So I just wanted to show you, we're just flying up to one of the roads coming into a development. And so we didn't even cross the road or anything because there's a good bit of traffic. We also didn't fly over those pickleball courts or over the playscapes. There were kids out there. Their parents were there, so we kept back from those. There's also a couple people out with dogs playing Frisbee, so big fun. But I just want to stop this right here. So at this point, this is 821 feet away from us. Still great visual line of sight. We could both make out the drone very easily. And so no issues, on visual line of sight. And this still gets me a really good distance. This could be a large apartment complex area or maybe a new subdivision area. There is a fair amount of open land in that area. So this could be a construction area that we could be called upon, or the open area across the street. Now, for us, one of the things we do when we're planning our flights for our clients is when we're plotting things out initially before we go do that initial site survey, I already have an idea because I'll mark things out with Litchi or I'll mark things out with Ground Station Pro, whatever I'm using. And when I'm setting those flights up, it usually gives me the flight distances so I can see, hey, it's going to be 1,500 feet this way by 2,000 feet this way. And we will actually position ourselves based on keeping things within 1,500 to 2,000 feet of our visual observation. So even if you're doing a big apartment complex area or a new, maybe a new construction area like what we bid on recently, we will plan out midpoints and areas to get the most coverage possible, but also making sure we have a solid visual line of sight. The other thing that I do have to say about what you're seeing here, so I only flew this at 100 feet above ground maximum. Right now I'm only at 68.2 feet. I am close to KPRC, that's Ernest Love Field in Prescott. We have Embry-Riddle, which is a aeronautical school, right? So there's people learning to be pilots. We have North Air Aviation, we have Guidance Helicopter, and we have somebody else that I keep forgetting their name. I am within 5 miles of the airport. I did my Lance request, and in this area, I can fly up to 150 feet above ground. But I was wanting to keep it, just 100 feet above ground for our own testing to say, okay, do I see it 1,000 feet away at 100 feet above ground? Or 200. We can't fly 200 there. We'd have to go somewhere else. But so, getting out to 1,000 feet, we were still viewing this very well. We still had everything covered. And so now I'm just moving it on back to our launching point, just to bring it back in. So 600 feet away, at this point, visual line of sight here is awesome. Michael, I'm just looking over again, everybody. No quality control on DJI's part. That's what, I'm wondering. I know bad batches can happen. And so last year, while I was frustrated, I understood. This year, I'm beyond frustrated, especially with the number of flights on it. 27 flights. That's ridiculous. My iPhone's got better battery life, and some of my older gear's got better battery. I've got old batteries for my Canon 5D Mark II that are still perfectly fine and I can shoot with. never had a problem with them. So yeah, so we were playing around with this line of sight, and one of the big reasons why I was playing around with the visual line of sight, was just thinking about it after I'd watched several of the videos about the drone pilot in Philadelphia and the $180,000 worth of fines that he was receiving. And it was clear watching his telemetry and everything that yes, in fact, this guy was getting far away. He was in places he wasn't supposed to be. He was doing some things that we're not going to do here, and I hope you don't do either. Now, so I'm not going to, lay the judgment hammer on him or anything. These are things I wouldn't do, and it doesn't fit with my type of drone flying, which has more to do with my business than going out and getting cinematic city stuff. But so seeing the video about him, seeing some of the commentary about him, just made me say, let's talk about line of sight for our drone businesses and for the work that we're doing for clients. So by the way, when we have areas, let's rewind this a bit and see. Okay, no, I didn't get coverage over there. So last year, I was shooting off to the left-hand side of this where new houses were going in, and it was a massive area, a very massive area. So if you go way back on this channel, you'll find some videos about overlaying geotiffs onto Google Earth. So if you look up Google Earth on my search, you should find that, and you'll see this giant area that I was documenting over a year ago. Because there was no roads or anything showing up on Google Earth or Google Maps. So I was having fun doing some overlays. This was a big area, so I broke the area into multiple chunks. I didn't just fly the entire area because the drone would have been thousands of feet away from me. And keep in mind what I was saying just a few minutes ago. KPRC is right down the road. We have different grids here. I'm in a 150. Over next to me, not too far away, is a 0. To the north of me is another 150 and then a 0. So I'm surrounded by some interesting areas. So I do need to block things out for different flights, not just because of beyond visual line of sight, but also working around the grids. So with that in mind, when we scout out bigger locations, I will find midpoints for myself or areas that give me the most visual line of sight coverage. If we get into sticky areas, then Jody will go to the other side of the building and we are communicating while she's over on those sides. So we've got that covered. Let's take a look back over. All right, I'm not missing anybody else's. So anyways, on this particular one, so flying on back, let's just make sure. So, 900 feet here and still great visual line of sight. So while we were doing that, oh yeah, so Ray and a couple other folks, just proving out that Jody is a real person. So we were both standing out there doing our line of sight. And as you can see, I'm wearing a North Face jacket, so it was definitely cooler temperatures out there. She had a couple layers on as well. So, and hands in pocket because it was cool on the backside. It's very strange here in northern Arizona. You can get some hot temperatures, but then you get into the shade and you cool right off. So there you go. Jody is real. I am real. But there we are, just bringing that one in and having a laugh at whatever we were saying. So we didn't record the audio there. But so we did a couple more quick flight tests on Saturday. And I did cut everything short because of the frustration with the batteries. So I do apologize for that, missing out. But there we go. So we're at 1,000 feet away. Haven't crossed the road yet. We do have a person who's walking up there. So we do pay attention. We do the scanning. So I look out at the drone. I check on screen. I look out the drone. You really have to, especially, in obstacled areas or things, or watching out for other people who are playing pickleball or having fun on the playscape. So it was very interesting, though. I'm sure all of you have watched the thing on the Philadelphia drone guy. I can't remember his name, but if you look up $180,000 fine, you'll find him real quick. So all of his flights, he was doing something like this where he's showing his telemetry. And when you see some of the telemetry, you're like, wow, has he gotten far away flying over some of these buildings and things? And I don't know if he's a Part 107 or not. There's some debate about that. But whatever it is, in the end, he did violate some regulations for sure. And I'm personally just not comfortable with it getting out of my visual line of sight because of the type of work that I'm doing. So there you go. So I'm not judging anybody. You fly how you want to. But hopefully you're keeping it within your country's rules and regulations as well. Because I want to keep doing this as a business and continue growing my business. And whenever we have these types of incidents, it gets really concerning that is this the incident that's going to affect all of us? So, there's my little safety thing. But in the end, when we're doing large areas, if we're doing larger areas, let's say like we've got 3,000 feet long by 1,000 feet back, I will actually find locations in my pre-planning where I think would be best, and then that's where we're going to be doing the flying from. One of our big properties that we did recently, I did have to bounce between a couple of locations just because the distances, and also being able to see further back because it was a densely treed in area. So another way to lose that visual line of sight. But love using Litchi, by the way. So if anyone's looking at this and you're saying, hey, that's not the DJI Go 4 app. Excuse me, dry throat there. But not the DJI Go 4 app, just using the Litchi app because I was going to do a little more fun stuff with some pre-programmed flights, autonomous flights again. But the battery frustrations, after you get 2 batteries back that are swelling like that, yeah, it kind of ended the flight day for me. So there we go. Next week, we will have some other fun topics. And by the way, for everybody else who joined late, I'm just going to let you know, at the start of this, I had said to folks, I had some other ideas for live streams today that weren't about batteries. It was, the big thing was going to be visual line of sight. But I was also going to talk to you about the fact that people over 60 don't use the internet. Not my words. One of my clients at an RV resort swears up and down that they don't understand this new technology. By the way, I built my first website in 1994, and I was using the Mosaic web browser, if anybody remembers that. So 1994 is actually quite a long time ago. We're looking at a quarter of a century with the internet. People who are 60 years old today, let's say the internet started 20 years ago. Anyone who's 60 today was 40 then. You can't really tell me that someone who is 60 doesn't know about the internet. I have a lot of RV park managers and a lot of RV park owners say this to me often as I walk around their properties and notice that every single one of their residents is talking on a smartphone. Yep, older people don't do the net. So that'll be a tongue-in-cheek one that we can go through later because there was more said by this client. Also, if you're planning your drone websites and building out your drone businesses, mocking up a website on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and then expecting it to look like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper on a 21-inch monitor or on a 60-inch TV, that doesn't quite work out. So that's another funny one that we'll talk about in the future as well. And let's see, let me just look back on down. Oh yeah, my final thing. So I just wanted to ask the audience, I got a call last week regarding doing a flight for a roofing company, and the roofing company's flight area was actually, here we go, visualize it. I'm looking at the FAA's visualize it right now. And as you can see right here, we're looking at some zero grid. Zero. By the way, this little thing right here is a hospital with a helipad. So we've got zero, we've got zero, we've got zero. This person needed an area flown really quick within the next couple of days. They'd gotten in touch and I said to them, you're actually in a zero AGL and I don't have a COA for this. So I have not, I avoid the zeros in this area right now. And I do not have a certificate of authorization where I could be flying that particular zero. So I need to figure out, I need to go do some reading again. I've done authorizations before, but I would like to do, a blanket authorization for some of the zeros in our area because there's so many new homes going in, but the new homes are going in right across the street from the airport, literally. So as you can see, looking at this, we've got 0, 0, 0. And so I bring this up because I let the person know, I gave them a suggestion to check with another drone operator who might be able to fly there for them. And so sent him on his way. And 2 days later, he called me. So I guess he had forgotten the number of the person who is working with him. But so this person's going to be working in the zero area for him, doing some flights. And their price that they quoted him for flying in a zero, hopefully they've got a COA. They're going to be doing the flight for $83. So when he called me, he was like, "You're the guy I talked to the other day who'll do the flight for $83, right?" And I said, "No, I'm the guy who doesn't have authorization to fly in that zero. And if I did, I still wouldn't go shoot it for $83. That we do have, like I said, an active airport. We've got an active helipad downtown Prescott for one of the hospitals, and then we've got some helicopter flights in this area, and we've got this hospital right here. So, you know, he wanted a 2-day turnaround. It just wasn't us rushing things like that. Isn't me. But I would like to know from the rest of you, anybody else on channel, have you ever done a wide area authorization and have any tips for me or anything? Because what we're looking at here, and then we're going to wrap today's live stream up momentarily. I'm just coming over here. So let me see. What's the Ernest Love Field's right here. Okay. So there it is. I'm not going to be flying around the airport right there. Next to it is 89A, Route 89A, which heads over to Jerome and then to Sedona, Arizona. And right to the south of this is a bunch of new home developments. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of new homes. We're talking very expensive new homes. Prescott is growing rapidly. You know, it's just busting at the seams how many people want to move to here. So this area for the 0 along 89, the 0 over here, the 0 over here, there are a bunch of homes. And I haven't gotten any calls from any of the developers in this area. But, you know, these are all 0. Take a look at this, where this runway is pointing across to. All right, in addition to that, Northern Arizona 89 here, this 0 right here is now full of new houses. And this area right here, also in a 0 area, full of new houses. All this stuff is getting built out in here. I'd love to be able to fly this for clients. We wouldn't be getting much elevation or anything. Look at the runway, and you can make out, you know, the pattern that they have. This runway is heading right on over to Embry-Riddle. So there's Embry-Riddle Aeronautical. And take a look at this, 0 and 0, and then they got a 50 and a 150 down at Willow Lake, which we've filmed here before. So if you haven't seen the fun videos here, look up Willow Lake or Watson Lake, and you'll see some pretty cool stuff. But so in this area, we got a lot of 0s and a ton of houses being put in. By the way, my Airstream secretly is somewhere in here, parked for storage. And I got to say, whenever I go over to the Airstream to do something with it, there is a constant flow of airplanes over my head. So the folks who are all moving into this area, I guarantee you're going to complain about airport noise down the road. So they're building out these $400,000 houses right in the pattern. And when I've been over at my Airstream, those planes are low. And, you know, with multiple flight schools there, you can just imagine it's a very busy air traffic area. So with that in mind, that's why, you know, that's part of why this particular grid looks the way it does. And we've got a lot of 0s here. And then we've got them, you know, trailing down in this direction. Maybe that's one of their flight paths. But so anybody with some additional information on doing COAs and writing them up to present some safe flight opportunities, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love some advice, because I really would like to get into some of those 0s. You know, we're not going to be flying at 100 above ground here. I was thinking, you know, if we could do 50 feet above ground level to show off some of these communities, that'd be fantastic. And probably all you need down the road for the realtors selling the homes, it'd be great to have some, you know, that kind of footage, either video, stills, or 360s as well. So let me, do you use an IR camera in your roofing jobs? Haven't actually had anyone ask for that. And I know actually for, you know, checking for insulation or, you know, temperature control, especially here, it'd be nice to know if it's bleeding out cold air or bleeding out hot air on those. So far, I've only had people who've just wanted before and after, so roofers who wanted to show the quality of their work. I've also had a couple of clients who've had shabby work done who had us come over and fly the rooftop. And, you know, I'm not a roofer, I'm not an expert, but when you see a bunch of broken tiles installed all over the top of a roof and tiles not going together, even I can say, yeah, wow, that doesn't look great. So we've had a couple of clients have us fly the rooftops after roofing companies have come in, and they've used those flights to convince the roofing companies to come back and do it the right way. But we do have a lot of areas, you know, once we're away from the airport, there's a lot of space to fly in the Prescott area using Lance. But, you know, in this case, you can submit a Lance request, but normally it's got to be so many days out. And like I said, this guy wanted, you know, 2-day turnaround. Can you get out there right now? And I looked here and I said, you know, you're well into a zero. You're really, really close to the hospital. Actually, I used the Google Maps measuring tool. It was 1,200 feet from the hospital. So I wasn't comfortable with it and suggested that he get in touch with other people. And then in the end, he gave me a call because he forgot who he was talking to. And I'm still surprised at an $83 flight, especially with that particular location, because you need to be paying a lot more attention because some of those choppers come out low, especially if any emergencies come up. All right, let's take a look back over. And I have used a 360 camera on a long pole in problem areas to get some fake drones. That's one option. Ray, it totally is, and I've totally done that too. So that's why I'm laughing right now. Oh yeah, and by the way, we're going to be going into town this week, and we'll be doing some new 360s for fun. So stay tuned to the channel. I think I'll have an extra thing. Oh, and finally, before the hour here is up, I just want to let everyone know there might be some weirdness with this channel end of January. We just found out this weekend that our landlords, so we're renting this house, the landlords have decided to move. They're going to be selling their properties off in the Prescott area. And that means the end of January, we are out of here. It is very expensive to live in the city of Prescott area or even Prescott Valley. Most of the homes for rent are running $2,000 a month and above. And usually when those homes get listed, they're picked up the same day. So there's a big interest in rentals in this community and not enough of them. So we might have a week or two or maybe longer where we're back in the Airstream for a bit, which will mean less live streams, just because connecting to the internet from the Airstream on shared networks and stuff is a lot slower. We're trying to find something as quick as we can. And for those of you who are in Arizona, in the Prescott area, if you know of any good rental houses, let me know, drop me a note. And so I'm sure some of you are going, hey, Rich, why aren't you saying apartments? I don't want to live in apartments with other people around. I've mentioned before on here, I have a couple autoimmune disorders. One of them has to do with severe allergies. I have an eosinophilic disorder. What that means is I walked into a building a couple of years ago for one of our clients who had sprayed sesame oil in the building earlier that morning. I went into anaphylactic shock in about 2 minutes' time. So the idea of an apartment and living next door to someone using peanut oil or sesame oil or the 60 other things that I'm allergic to, apartments are not a good idea for me. So if I don't want to have an anaphylactic shock incident due to somebody else's cooking in the same building I'm in, the best bet is to try to find a rental home. So yeah, anybody who knows a good place or suggestions to move, we're actually entertaining that idea as well. I know I've been building AZ drone for a couple of years, but there is the question of moving to somewhere with fewer airborne allergens for me as well. So it's a real topic in our house right now. In the end though, things might get a little strange at the end of January, so I just wanted to let you know. Koa, if you get wide area, you still have to go by the map grid altitude, right? To deviate from the published grid, you have to have additional, that's exactly it. But I do know a couple people who've had wide areas and have been able to actually cover more area with that wide. So let's say they submitted, looking at this map, for this 0 on 89, this 0 here, and this 0 here. And so they've submitted something on the order of, hey, I'd like to fly 50 feet above ground because this is for a construction company or for the home, the home builders, the organization, or maybe the realtors. So I do know that some people have been getting these blanket areas to be able to do something 25 feet above the rooftops or 50 feet above the rooftops. So I've been hunting around on the net for examples, and that's why I was saying, if anyone's got any additional ideas, I'll take them. All right, it's 8:54 a.m. Sorry for the long-winded thing, and I hope this one was valuable to you today. And keep an eye on your batteries, and cross your fingers that we find a place so that it'll lower the stress level here. Because right now we're both going, geez, we got about 45 days to get this figured out. So wish us luck, and we'll see you again at the latest next week. But I think you might see a couple other videos this week from doing some 360s down at the Courthouse Plaza, because they've had the whole lighting in the Courthouse Square. It's always beautiful every year. We did not go down for that. And as a matter of fact, in the end, they had a virtual lighting of the courthouse square just so they didn't have a big crowd down there. And you know why they're canceling things everywhere. I'm not even going to speak of the medical stuff because YouTube keeps trying to demonetize me on each of these things, and it seems to be consistent when I talk about anything with the pandemic. They try to do a demonetization. So, the thing who shall not be named. All right, everyone, have a great start to the week, and we'll see you again really soon. Let me see, make sure I didn't miss any other comments or anything. All right, so stream's ending.